From book to film to video game, let's get started with creating worlds.
Boboloni said he broke 2,000 hours in Conan Exiles over the weekend.
Arrakis is this unrelenting anvil against which people are beaten and shaped and forged.
Oh, look at all those artworks. From book
There's
to
something very
film.
spiritual about that sand, which on the surface is really nothing, but underneath has a really diverse biological backstory.
Those new films are fire,
One of
everybody,
my
if you haven't
favorite
watched them yet.
lines from Frank Herbert is, when you end a novel, it's like a train coming into the station that doesn't stop. You just jam on the brakes and let the sparks fly into people's imagination.
Look at that sand, oh, that explosion, that was great. It said Unreal 5.2 is what it said, in-game footage. In-engine
Arrakis is a
footage.
test, is what the Fremen say. And the player comes right into the heart of that test. Dune Awakening is a survival game at the base level. And it begins like a traditional survival game, you know, like you're looking for water, you're looking for shelter. You know, where will you find water in the desert? Will you take it from others? So when we talk about survival,
Look at that ship.
sure, we start with the basic kind of survive.
And stealth.
And then when you've survived long enough, it's now time to think about political survival and how you progress within the universe.
That looks good. I did not anticipate this.
The approach we
to
take
look
when
that
building
good.
a world like Arrakis is we kind of have to think about where
Yeah,
are
I
the
could get a
stark
Destiny
lines
2
and how do we
vibe from
draw
this,
these
yeah.
epic spaces. How do we make them feel huge and the player feels dwarfed by everything they see around them?
The intention was every time we saw the desert, it was highly brutal, and if you went out into the desert without the right protection and without the right knowledge, that it was sure death. If we looked at references from some of the hottest deserts in the world, the visuals that we saw from those deserts weren't enough. We needed this world to be even harsher.
So we've been working with Legendary since the
Oh,
very
ho,
beginning.
ho, ho,
They've been
ho, did
very
you see
generous
those?
with sharing
Look
with
at
us
the
assets from
ornithopter fleet,
film
the
and allowing
shots,
us
man.
to see things from the film and allowing us to really understand the vision that Denis Villeneuve has for the world and his characters and the way he's grounding Arrakis. But of course, a game is a much larger scale, so we need to expand upon that vision. We have our own army of concept artists who are sending things back and forth with Legendary all the time. One of my best moments on this project so far actually was I got to go and visit the set of the first film with a group of the people from Funcom, the art directors, the lead artists.
That is cool.
And we got to walk around in the actual sets that they had built in classic old school set building, massive palaces. And we got to look at the ornithopters from the inside and the outside, right? We got
That's
to
so
walk
cool.
around them. And
So
get
they're
a sense
matching a
their
lot of the
scale.
stuff with the film visuals,
Well,
which
I
is
think
cool.
what they had done really well is they'd been quite inspired by the world that we had built in Dune Part 1. Now, in a film, you're sort of led on a journey by the director and by the script, whereas in a game, you have the opportunity
That
to
looks
sort of
great,
create
man.
your own narrative and create
Look
your
at
own
that.
journey. The most exciting aspect for me is the fact that you can take what you've enjoyed and loved and you can build your own stories and your own places. And that to me is the ultimate goal, is to have, complete control.
Using Unreal 5 to create a game is obviously one of the better choices. Unreal 5 gives us flexibility through the blueprinting system. It allows us
Blueprints
to
are
handle
awesome, by the
amazing
way.
graphics through the rendering system, the lighting system such as Lumen. Lumen technology allows proper light bouncing. If I had to say one thing in the game that really benefits from Lumen, it's player crafted spaces. In our case, it's like you build a room and you place a window, and the window lets in natural light.
Yeah,
and the
hand in
light
glove
will
with the new
fill
films
room
is
in a
awesome.
way
By the way,
that
I love
feels
the
real.
emphasis
And
on player
that
housing in this
technology
game.
hasn't existed before. Before Unreal 5, in the olden days, you had to use what we called the LOD system. And that meant that you
LODs.
had to create assets at different LOD levels,
Yeah.
so it doesn't slow down everybody's computer. With Unreal 5, we have this new technology called Nanite that breaks things down into the right amount of polygons at the right distance. So for us,
Unreal
as a
5 is
company,
amazing,
this has
guys.
made an
It
amazing
has
difference to the
streamlined the
visual
development
detail
process
of
and
the
cut
world.
out like
It allows
20
us to
the
create
work of 20
one
people
really amazing looking cliff
all
face,
into
for
the
example.
tech.
And
It's
then
amazing.
doesn't matter how
It's
far
all
away
lighting
or
and
how close we
shaders.
place it, it performs well,
Yeah.
and it looks great.
It looks great. Yeah, it's the performance thing. Unreal 5 is amazing.
Where Unreal worked for us on Dune was that it was a fantastic pre-production and planning tool. On Dune Part 2, we had some very complicated scenes, and we were able to previs all the way from Budapest what the light was going to be doing well in advance. It's the only tool that I've used, I would say, in my 25 years of shooting, that is able to be used across a wide spectrum of films by different types of
That's the
filmmakers.
power of Unreal. It's not just a video game engine,
The
guys.
most
It's a
iconic
huge special effects
creature
tool in the film
in the Dune
industry.
universe is the Sandworm of Arrakis. And so we've tried to represent this in the game in multiple ways.
Oh, look at that!
So
Look
as
at
a
that!
player,
Look
your
at
first
that!
steps on the open sand, you hear the hiss of the sand in the distance
Oh, baby!
as a sandworm begins to move towards you.
Oh!
And when it gets close, you hear the roar as it erupts from the sand nearby. And at that point, you have only seconds to live if you cannot make it to Rocky Creek.
Oh shit!
So this
Bye-bye.
is your first experience with sandworms. And these are the little ones.
These are the babies.
When you go into the deep desert, when you're harvesting spice, the giant ring-mouth sandworms that we've seen in the film will erupt underneath the spice blowers and suck harvesters and equipment down into the sand beneath them. There's really only one rule. The sandworm will always come. Humans have always had this innate drive to create something, to build worlds, whether it's in their head, whether it's in text, whether it's on screens, whether it's in games. Funcom as a company has been on this journey for a long time, creating multiplayer worlds where players can live out their dreams and fantasies. We were there in the beginning with massively multiplayer online games. We've been there.
They've been around a while.
In the beginning with survival open world crafting games. And Dune is a combination of those legacies, bringing us forward into the future. It's the culmination of what Funcom means as a company and what we can deliver. And this legacy means that we
Look at
need
that
to
shot!
really
Oh
pay
my
attention
god,
to
those
what we're
masks
creating
look amazing.
and how
Oh,
we
that's one of
create
the
for
things
fans.
you can drive around.
Because
Ah!
I think at the heart of this,
Cave
there's a lot
drawings,
of people out there who
skeletons,
really want to live
ornithopters.
in the universe that Frank Herbert created. And
Or
they really want to live
nerdgasm,
in the visual
nerdgasm.
world of the films that they see from Villeneuve. And so we need to create the gap between those two possibility spaces and create a game world where people can live out their fantasies that they've taken from Dune. And yes, it's a huge
Very
legacy,
cool.
and it feels at times extremely overwhelming, but we really hope that we can deliver something for everybody.